Mohamed El-Fatatry, founder and the CEO of Muslim Inc., the world's largest Muslim lifestyle media company. Welcome to EVA TV.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Glad to be here.
A lot is happening around the Arabic world at the moment. The situation has been turbulent, for example, in your native country, Egypt. It has been claimed that the uprisings have been fueled by and organized through the social media. What do you think? How important has the role of the social media been?
I think about 10 years ago we started noticing a trend where the internet penetration, especially in the Arab world, was growing very rapidly, and then citizens were using these modern technology tools, not only the most recent ones like Facebook, but actually before that, when mobile phones started to have cameras and they started to capture acts by the government that people needed to know about, and they started using technology to share those. So I think that this has started a trend where momentum has been building for quite a while. People's patience has been running out, and then now it was actually fueled mainly by the youth. It was a very, very grassroots movement where this kind of momentum has been bubbling for a while, and then now people used Facebook to actually get on the streets and change the political system. This was largely fueled actually by the younger generation, and I don't think that any group or organization can take credit for starting something like this, because it just simply isn't the case. I was actually asked recently whether Tunisia was the catalyst for what happened in Egypt, and I said, well, if you like to look at it as maybe the micro catalyst, but as a macro catalyst, what was happening already 10 years ago when the internet started to be utilized by the citizens, and then more recently when the momentum was building up, that is actually what ultimately led to people going on the streets, and the system has been changed now.
Right. So you're saying it's mainly young people that have been on the streets. I was just wondering whether actually in Egypt there are roughly 40% of the population that they cannot read, and there is maybe 25% of the population that are using the internet. So has this only been a small part of the population that has been on the streets, or how would you comment on that?
Actually, what I would comment on that is that if you look at the types of people that were on the streets, there is actually many different types of people. We've seen students of the American university protesting side by side with the very poor people. So I would say that yes, the momentum was of course built among the people who are tech savvy, and they were basically using the internet to mobilize their friends. But ultimately, it was actually all levels, all layers of the Egyptian society actually on the streets, standing side by side, and the reason for their protest was not simply just economical reasons. Some people, like for example, the Google executive who gained a lot of attention during the protest. I mean, this is a guy who is working for one of the world's largest companies. He is a very well-off, financially rich guy. They were saying, he has nothing really to complain about from a financial point of view, but he was part of the protests anyway, and that is simply because humans have, well, going back to the triangle of human needs, they have multiple layers of that need to be fulfilled, and one of the things that people need to feel good is actually a sense of control over their life and their surroundings, and this is something that the Egyptian society hasn't been feeling in a long time. Even critical thinking has been monopolized by the elite, basically ruling groups, and the media was very tightly controlled. So the internet has changed all that, because people can just take it on their own, adopt it, and then start basically acting.
Now, what is your personal opinion? Is El-Baradei the person that will unite Egypt?
I actually have no comment on who is the right candidate, or who is the candidate that has most chance moving forward. However, what I will say is that I believe that Egypt today has enough number of people who could be active participants in a democratic process and could actually carry out a very smooth transition of power, and have a democratically elected leader who will actually lead the country into the right direction. Who that is, I'll let the people decide, but I think that Egypt has enough people who could be active participants in that.
Great. Now, a bit about your business. The idea of Muslim is to connect the various Muslim communities around the world, and I assume you're following closely the discussion that is taking place on your network. How would you sum up this discussion at the moment, what are the hot topics?
Well, of course, you know that Muslim is an English language network
Yes.
where over 50% of the users come from Europe and North America. So on a day-to-day basis, of course, the population in Egypt and the population in the Arab world will probably be much more sort of like on a day-to-day basis concerned about the situation in that region than, for example, Muslims who are in Europe and North America, who are actually concerned, but it is not something that kind of touches them in their daily lives. They just hear about it in the news like they hear about everything else. So if you actually look at the global snapshot of what are Muslims talking about, yes, of course, the situation in Egypt and the Arab world is something that people are discussing, but it is not actually occupying a lot of their daily conversations. It is a lifestyle network which includes basically all aspects of their life, you know, whether it's sports, entertainment, news is part of that, but there is also like 26 categories of content that people are talking about, so you don't actually see the conversation being hijacked by just one topic, because we're talking about a community of 190 countries here, so one country can never usually take the lion's share of the conversations.
Thanks. Why did you create a separate forum for Muslims, and what has been the key to its success?
Let me tell you that the reason why at the moment we need actually a site that kind of highlights and speaks on behalf of the Muslim community by the community is that the world we live in right now is such that such a large group of people, 1.5 billion Muslims around the world, 1 in 4 people on this earth, there is such friction between them and everyone else. They are so misunderstood, and I think that the community is also not utilizing these modern tools in order to highlight a more accurate picture of what the community is like. Like the Gallup Center of Muslim Studies in Washington found that 57% of mainstream news coverage about Muslims talks about less than 1% of them. So less than 1% get to paint a picture for everyone else. And this is why something like Muslim needs to exist, because the first step towards improving the relations between Muslims and everyone else is to kind of, this identity that everyone is kind of running away from, which no one wants to talk about, what we have decided to do as a company is embrace it and rebrand it. And then once everyone realizes that actually the ultimate majority of Muslims around the world are regular folks, they are not threatening to anybody, they just have the same needs like everyone else, the right step after that will be probably not to have any separate forum for Muslims. But first we need to claim it, make it positive, and then integrate to the mainstream.
You have been a very successful young entrepreneur. What is your advice for other young people thinking about becoming entrepreneurs? Would you recommend it? Of
course, I think that it is such a joy to basically, well, first of all, you feel a very, very strong sense of control over your life. You can define your own, destiny. You can define your own direction. Even if you fail, that's fine. This is part of life. But you still learn a lot, and the experience itself, actually, in my opinion, even if it does not lead to very, very vast financial gain, you still have a very high quality of life because you have kind of enjoyed the ride and learned and had unique experiences more than many other people. So I would definitely recommend young people to actually pursue entrepreneurship because it is a way where they could kind of look at the world around them, define a problem that they see, and then make their idea, their company, their product to be the ultimate solution for that problem. And when they do that, the sense of fulfillment and joy that they will feel is something that I can't really describe with words. Someone has to try it in order to know how amazing it is. It
sounds very inspirational. Thank you very much, Mohamed El-Fatatry.
Thank you very much.